So, Nikki, what are we talking about today?
So today, I think this is going to be a bonus episode. So we
Ooh.
we started trying out no phone days. So that
Mm.
is NPD for short, and
NPD.
NPD. And I documented a little bit of it on Instagram. Obviously, not that day because I
Mhm.
didn't touch my phone, but I gave some recaps, and it was something I definitely wanted to review on a quick episode that's going to be short and sweet, but I think it's really interesting what observations I had. Um, so basically, I didn't touch my phone from the time I woke up till the time I went to bed. I did not touch it. And here's what happened. So the night before, I had anxiety for sure. Like I was laying in bed and being like, shit, like do I like how is this going to work? How am I going to move about? Like what if my kid is sick at school and they need to call me? Like what if, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, this is silly. Like it's probably going to be no big deal. But I totally had anxiety, which was just an interesting thing. Um, and
Well,
I
and also like that really like hones in on how much we are attached to
I
our
know.
phones or how attached our phone is to our life, like how
Mhm.
integrated it
It's
is.
so integrated. It's very interesting. And
Yeah.
so I put it in my drawer and I closed the drawer so that I didn't even have a chance to look at it. So if someone, I guess I could have just turned it off, but I just like had it on silent and in the drawer. So I woke up and my husband had already left for work and I was like, what time is it? Like I don't have a clock in my room. Like I had no idea. So I had to go downstairs to check what time it was. My body naturally woke up just because my kids are up 6:30. So I just woke up
I
slightly
love
before
that.
them, like your
Yeah.
body usually will do.
Hmm.
But if this is something I were to do regularly, like I would have a little cheap alarm clock in my room so that I didn't have to think about that. So what time is it? I went down and made my coffee. And instead of like scrolling through my phone while I drink my coffee, I just sat there and I got out one of these books by one of the authors that we're going to be interviewing. And I just took notes on it and like sat there
That
calmly.
sounds
It,
so
it
nice.
was really pleasant, right? A great way to start
I
the
love
day.
that.
I know. Um, my 7-year-old woke up, she came downstairs and I told her about me not touching my phone today and she smiled like really excitedly, like she was like excited about that for me,
I
which
love that you told her. I love how you like invited her in on your experience. Like this is what mommy's like experiencing today.
yeah.
Love
And
that.
the first thing she said when I picked her up from school too was, have you touched your phone today? She was
Wow.
keeping me honest. um
I love that.
Yeah, so that was interesting. Like it was almost like I think she was probably thinking like, "Ooh, I get more attention today. Ooh, I don't have to compete with that today," which was, interesting to think about.
Kids are really keen on the power
Yeah.
of the phones, right?
So then a few things happened through the morning that I didn't physically go to reach for my phone, but my mind went, grab my phone to take a picture or grab my phone to call my husband and tell him something funny that happened. My two daughters were cuddling and I was like, oh, I would normally have taken a photo of that. And,
Mm.
I couldn't. So that was just something that it kept coming up in my mind, like, oh, grab your phone. Oh, nope, I can't. um,
Yeah.
and, you know,
What was that like for you? Like
um,
what that like almost like grab your phone, but you're like, wait, what?
I
Like
would be thinking
like
in my mind, like, okay, I don't have my phone with me. And then I would see something millisecond later and then be like, where's my phone? So it was like you'd go from like knowing you don't have your phone to seeing something and then thinking, I need my phone. It was like so quick of a forgetting that I didn't
wow.
have access to it. It was so weird. Like you're so used to having it as like an appendage on your body that like
Right.
not having it is very odd. And
And you were being so intentional of
mhm,
I don't have my phone. I don't have my phone. And then 2 seconds later, a quick describe sorry, 2 seconds later, a quick oh my
distraction.
gosh. Speak, Ashley.
Uh,
2 seconds later, a quick distraction, and it was back to where's my phone?
Totally. Weird,
Whoa.
weird, weird stuff in your brain. And then I got in the car to take the kids to school, and I was like, that's when I physically reached for my phone because I always plug it in to my car to listen to music that we all like or a podcast or something. And so I reached for it and then realized, oh, I don't have it. So I turned on the radio for the first time since I purchased my car in 2020. Like, I've never listened to the radio in my car.
No
I
way.
swear.
Stop it. You don't even have like Sirius XM,
I
or you don't
mean,
have.
no, I think I had like the free trial when it started, that maybe I
Oh
used
yeah.
that for 3 months, but but yeah, and I had a nice time like remembering which stations I used to listen to and like programming them
Right.
in.
What was the station you went to? Let's say it.
102.7 Kiss
Of
FM,
course. Kiss
105.1
FM.
Country, whatever station that is.
Yeah.
Honestly, like 104.3 has like some throwback stuff.
Yeah. I love the good throwbacks.
105.9, I feel feeling a little rap, but I was just trying to fill in the stations as like what
Feeling a little
option.
saucy in a minivan. Go, Nick.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So let's see. I went to my workout. I went to grab a coffee. And while I was waiting for my coffee, instead of scrolling through my phone, I stood there, looked around. Actually, then I sat down and I had brought my book with me that I was prepping with and read my book. And I saw a guy there, a man that actually had coached me in soccer years and years ago. And he
No
came up to
way.
me and he taps me. He goes, "Hey," and I was like, "Hi." And he's like, "You doing some homework?" And I'm like, "What? I'm not 12 years old." Like, and I was like, "No, I'm prepping for an interview for my podcast." And he was like, "Oh, cool." And I was like, I guess like reading through a book and writing notes in a coffee shop looks like I'm doing homework. You know, I'm a college
Yeah,
student.
almost like it's foreign. Like you must be a college student because
Yeah.
no one would do that on their time
Right.
off,
If you're
right?
working, you have your computer out, right? Like,
Right. Or you
interesting.
have your phone. Yeah, you have your phone.
Yeah.
Wow.
But nice compliment for him to think that I'm, a college student. I'm young
Well,
enough to be.
You still look young.
You can go to college at any time. But anyways.
Yeah, you can. It's true. True.
Okay, so then later on, so good thing about this is I have a MacBook or a Mac. I don't know what this is, Mac desktop, and
Yeah,
so it connects to my iMessage. So I was still able to keep up with some messaging during the day, which was great. I didn't take calls. You can actually take calls from your Mac computer, but I didn't. I just decided not to add that in. And then, so I was working during the day editing. And I got an email from the woman that I'm trying to book swim lessons with for next year for the kids. And the credit card was like, not, her thing wasn't working. And so she's like, "Can you call me? We can walk through it." And I was like, "I actually can't. This might be weird, but I'm not using my phone today as, a test or like an experiment for my podcast." And she was
Wow.
like, "That's not weird at all. That's amazing. Can you send me your podcast?" And I was like,
Oh my gosh. Hey,
I know.
Look at you, like reaching out and telling people
I know
about your experience.
Yeah. So that was cool, right? Like a little connector.
Yeah.
So I went to pick up the kids from school. I got there 15 minutes early. Normally I would sit in my car and scroll or even like listen to a podcast. I had nothing. And then I was like, "Oh, I'll read my book and take notes." I had forgotten my book. So I literally sat
you were forced to do
there
nothing.
in my car for 15 minutes. And I had to think, should I go walk up to school and start chatting with the moms that stand there for a while before school? And just for that day, I decided like, I'm just going to sit here in my thoughts. I did have my notebook where I think I wrote some like things down, but that was an interesting thing of like my go-to of my book was like not there. And I was like, ugh, like, am I wasting my time?
What did that feel like for you?
It felt frustrating. Like I wasn't being productive,
Yeah.
So that was interesting.
Isn't that crazy where, like if we sit and we allow ourselves to sit, we're really battling with that feeling of, am I wasting my time? Like I should be productive. And I think this really happens for parents, right? Because you're always on the go doing stuff. You have this huge checklist and to actually sit and just be with your thoughts or just take, 10, 15 minutes of not doing a lot or just sitting there looking around and be with your thoughts, like how that is translated to laziness or being worthless or not productive, and it's uncomfortable.
It's just not what we're used to at all. And
No.
So I have some observations once I get through my day, and one of the big ones is I was very much less productive when it comes to minor tasks, but I was way more creatively productive. Like I had way more creative ideas than letting my mind wander. And actually like being more productive in the daytime while you're running around dropping kids off and stuff, it's just like stressful because you're trying to finish this one, like, pay the gardener on your Venmo while you're walking the kids to their school. Like always
Yes.
multitasking, like always trying to complete
Right.
multiple things at one time. And so not doing that was uncomfortable, but it was really nice.
Yeah.
So then we're like, the kids are home from school and I make dinner and then we watch a movie. And usually during this time, like I don't have my phone a ton typically, until we got to like watch a movie, like from 6 to 7, 7:15, we usually watch a movie. And I fight with this. Like I sometimes want to have my phone in front of me if it's a movie I don't really love. And the kids like, I'll be
Mm-hmm.
scrolling or editing something or whatever on my phone. And so I didn't have that option, which was actually really great because I just like engaged with the kids and, watched the movie with them. And a big one too was bedtime. So I usually watch a show with my husband or on my own or whatever. And then I lay in bed and I read my book on my Kindle on my phone or, scroll through the news or watch like a travel channel on YouTube or something. So I didn't have
Yeah.
any of those options. So I did watch a show on the TV downstairs and then read a book I've been putting off, like something not for work, but like, or the podcast, but something that I just have had sitting there. Like, I don't have time to read this ever. So that was
Yeah.
cool to like get to something that I hadn't gotten to. Um, One thing before I get to like observations is the next morning, I was dreading grabbing my phone. Like I didn't want it.
No
It
way.
was in my drawer and I was just like, oh, I like was looking at the drawer and I was like, no, not yet. And I like got myself a little ready and I was just like, I don't want it. I don't want it. Like I really didn't want to start up with it
Wow.
again. And then I went and grabbed it and the charger was the whole time plugged into it and but it wasn't plugged into the wall all the way. So it was dead. And I was like, oh, it's dead. I was like, that's okay. And so then I had to leave it again while it charged to like take the kids to school. And so, but I knew like once I had it back that I was just going to fall right into this same
Yeah.
shit again of like using it in every little quiet moment. And it's hard. It's hard to not do that, even though I understand like, and I've experienced not having it for a day. But I think you got to do it for like many days for it to be like really more of a routine and something that your brain shifts away from.
Yeah.
But okay, so let me go through. So I wrote down some positive and some negative observations of the experience.
I love it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
Okay. So positive ones first. So the world around me literally seemed bigger. Like as I was
Mhm.
walking the kids up to their school and back, like I was looking like out and further. Like I was seeing more of the world. Like, and I don't know
Yeah.
how to like it sounds crazy or like silly, but I swear, like I was looking up and around and I saw this like one thing that caught my eye was I saw this giant spider web. Like in the early morning, you'll sometimes like see a big spider
Mhm.
web with a big old spider in the middle. And literally so the spider was in the middle. I like drew a picture of it on this thing. Um,
Oh, well, look at you.
but like had a spider in the middle and then a bee, a bee, and a big old fly in like a square, like 1, 2, 3 points with the spider in the middle. It was like a perfect, like, and they were all dead, like all wrapped up. But I was
Wow.
like, that's like art. And I was like, I never would have seen that. Plus, also, I kind of want to take a picture of it, but I can't. And I was like, but it's just a cool thing to like observe in the world just an example that I would never have caught if I was walking and trying to do stuff on my phone.
Because it's just a spider. It's just like the tiniest little
Yeah.
things in our world.
Yeah.
And then without having the phone, like all the tiny things even become more apparent. And you're like, whoa, check
Yeah.
that out.
Yeah. Like and my thought was like, the world is so big and so full. Like there's things happening here and there and everywhere that you just like
Yeah.
don't observe and don't interact with. You're just like in your own frame of reference, like in your own frame of sight. Um,
Yeah.
Another thing I
So it
noted,
kind of like opened up your expanders.
yeah,
Like it wasn't so tunnel vision.
yeah, right,
It like almost just like opened it up and you got like full view
yes,
of the world.
yes, yeah. It wasn't, and I think like applying that every day would be really great for someone's mental health and like giving them perspective. It's like not all about what you have going on in your little stressors. Like there's a lot
Yeah.
more going on to have some perspective. One thing I noticed that was interesting was I drank more water. So instead, you're constantly grabbing your phone. I actually just felt like I needed to grab for something. And so I would just like grab my water more, which is like a
That's awesome.
weird thing, right?
Yeah.
I found and almost like, I think I was like replacing one thing with another, but
Hmm.
a positive, right? Sure.
No, it is. I mean, if you have that habit of grabbing for something, I mean, that's
Yeah.
muscle memory, right?
Yeah.
That's part of the brain. And to replace it with something
Mm-hmm.
like a healthier habit of hydrating yourself,
Yeah.
what a great replacement.
Sure. I know. I was like, okay, that's not bad. Um,
No, that's great. That's awesome.
so I talked about definitely being more creative, just having more downtime, a lot more time to just let my brain
Mhm.
wander and think of more creative things. Um, I wrote down like I felt lighter and looser. Like I feel like when I was like just like a little loose, like I was in the car just like
Mhm.
kind of singing and like just feeling like nothing's weighing me down. Because my brain was, but I think this took like a couple of hours, like on the way back from a workout or something. I was like, okay, I feel a little
Mhm.
like loose now. And like, I don't know, the feeling of just being completely disconnected, like really hit
Mhm.
of like, no one can get a
That's
hold of me.
awesome.
I'm all alone. Like, ooh, cool. That kind of vibe.
Yeah. That's
um, so
that's awesome that it hit you so quickly, because sometimes for people, it takes a lot longer
mhm,
to feel that effect, like right away, of
yeah,
like, wow, I don't have my phone. And usually, you go through quite a bit of discomfort, which I'm sure you're
yeah,
going to discuss, but
yeah,
like you got that in the day, within
mhm,
the 24 hours, you felt a positive side effect
mhm,
of feeling like maybe a little bit more relaxed, maybe a little bit more carefree, maybe
yeah,
like less burden, like a less load, like more
mhm,
flowy, like whatever you want to describe it. But
yeah.
you got that pretty quickly.
Yeah, and even in the afternoon, my husband was like, "Okay, I'm going to put my phone down for the rest of the evening too." Like,
Mm.
and so he got to experience it as well. So I think it's a little bit of like a magnetic thing, I think, and it's interesting to try. Like, I really encourage people to try this. Okay, so but before we wrap up, so a few negatives. So when I drop my youngest off at preschool, they have you scan her in with your phone.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so I just had to use an alternate way to check her in, which they have like an iPad there, but you need a pin. I've never done it before. And so I needed like her pin. Wasn't a big deal. The teacher was like, it's fine, I'll check her in. But it was a thing that blipped like, okay, I didn't have my phone to do this and I didn't know her pin. Like I maybe should have been a little more prepared. Um, One bad one was I couldn't promote our podcast that day on Instagram. And, we didn't have as many listens that day or downloads that day because of that. So it did negatively affect our business activity that day. So, things balance out, but something that,
But again, it's an indicator how much business and how much career and your profession.
mhm.
I think anyone's career and profession is very much intertwined with the phone, with
Mhm.
social media, with technology,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
If that's email, phone calls, text messages,
Yeah.
social media platforms to promote and market, get a hold of your
Yeah.
coworkers and meetings.
And I didn't have anything crazy happen where like I didn't need to address anything right away on an email while I was out and about. Like by the time I got home and sat down on my computer, everything was still fine. Like no one's really expecting you to respond in 5 minutes. So it was fine.
You make such a good point. I think with having our phones at our fingertips at all times, when we get an email, a text message, a phone call, right, or a DM on a social media platform,
Mm-hmm.
it's this like expectation we have to respond right away,
Right.
instead of like, let's set the expectation of the president's like, no, you have 24, 48 hours to
Yeah.
respond.
Yeah.
I might not have my phone that day,
Yeah.
so I can't
Yeah.
respond to you until 24 hours, and making the other person wait a little bit.
Yeah, we're all juggling all of our priorities. So it doesn't mean that like they're at the
Yes.
bottom of our list, but it means we have 80 other things to tend to. And I do like I'll set aside time to be like, I'm editing now and I need 3 or 4 hours and I'm not responding to text messages or emails during that time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So whether I have my phone or not, you're not getting a response. Um,
Yeah.
okay. So, and really there's not a lot more negatives. Like I couldn't look up a recipe that I wanted to make. Usually I'd have my
Mm-hmm.
phone, Google it, and have it
Mm-hmm.
in the kitchen with me. Obviously I could bring my laptop into the kitchen and look it up. Like there's always workarounds. So like what I said as my recap on Instagram was like NPD, no phone day, was NBD, no big deal. Like
I love it.
it really was nice, relaxing day, creative day, gave me perspective. I had more connection with my kids and my husband. So totally going to do this regularly. And I recommend other people do it as well.
That's awesome. I love your experience.
Yeah. And I think like doing an NPD is like a big commitment, but like even just
Yeah.
when you're going out to grab a coffee or going to the grocery store or whatever, like try to just not bring your phone to do that thing. Like bring a book to the coffee shop and sit there, or go on a walk and like don't bring your phone. Like try like
Yeah.
something a little different that you wouldn't normally do just when you're
Yeah.
popping about. That was where it really made a difference. My thoughts were so much more creative and interesting, and I could have those thoughts when you're with your phone.
Yeah.
When you're with your phone, you don't even allow yourself to have any of those thoughts.
And I just love that, because when you allow yourself to kind of move past the discomfort of sitting on your own or being quiet, or, being just kind of silent.
Yeah.
Um, hold on.
So I think to wrap up, like my big wake up calls from this experience was I'm probably too attached to my phone at all times. It does not need to be sitting next to me 24/7. I don't always need to have it with me when I'm moving about the world. I feel like I felt like I was more reliant on it than I am. It was not important to have it with me on my NPD. So I encourage other people, like I said, to try it out, even if it's for half a day or just going out to run an errand. To like, don't have your phone with you, see what creative ideas come up. I think you'll really actually feel good afterward.
That my wake up call is, there's a lot of parents out there that put these high expectations that they need to be constantly connected to their kids. So if they're not using their phone, it's like 100% I need to be connected and playful and completely engaged with my kid.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes a lot of effort
Yeah.
to be connected with your kid. So take some breaks.
Mm-hmm.
Take some breaks, and it's totally okay to have some quiet time, to sit in the car for 15 minutes before picking up your kids
Mm-hmm.
and do nothing, and allow yourself to have that creativity, to have those ideas that kind of come up, or sit with some of those feelings if it means journaling.
Yeah.
And then when those times come with your kids, you're just so much more energized to connect with them.
Yeah. And
right.
Yeah.
So
And be comfortable being uncomfortable. Like you're going to be
yes,
uncomfortable. We're not used to doing that. Like, so it's okay to feel uncomfortable and figure out what comes up for you,
exactly. And instead of looking towards the phone to
Yeah.
settle that discomfort,
Right.
right? Because that's what I was doing, is like, oh, I'm feeling this discomfort. I'm getting like really overwhelmed, and I'm like tired with like this constant engagement
Mm-hmm.
and this constant connection.
Yeah.
So instead of looking at your phone to do that, step away, connect with yourself to re-energize,
Yeah.
and then come back.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Amazing, Ash. Okay. Well, I hope everybody enjoyed the story of my NPD and our
That was awesome.
Thanks.
And you know what? I hope it inspires people around the world and parents to put your phone down. And you know what? If it's just for, a couple minutes in the morning to read, enjoy your cup of coffee, or if it's a couple minutes of walking your kids to school or picking them up,
Yeah.
but just do that and be aware what comes up for you.
Yeah. I love that. Okay. Thank you, Ash, for listening. And sharing.
Of course. Of course.
Okay.
Thanks for sharing about your day.
You're welcome. All right, guys. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. We have lots more good stuff coming up. And so we will catch you soon. Thanks for listening to Scrolling to Death.
Bye, guys.
Bye.